I don't understand why my father had real fits of anger when, after school, he saw me persevere in my obsession with studying and reading among books, pencil cases, and notebooks. For several years in the evening he regularly came to beat me in bed and snatch a book from me that I secretly read, trying to illuminate the pages with a pocket lamp. Even when he accompanied my mother and me to the sea in the summer, it darkened when he saw me reading on the train. I have already said that I read the first books just taking them from his library. He continued to buy others until a few years ago, but with the sole purpose of furnishing the shelves of the house. Evidently, they were just to look at. Reading them for him corresponded to an improper use of the decorative element. To date, I believe that quite simply there are people who are born without any propensity for culture or mental training. My father has just revealed himself on every occasion, even more than my mother, which is already very significant, one of the most ignorant and intellectually lazy people I have ever known. In his life he had moments of compassion, of generosity, but always suffocated by some selfish or hidden purpose of his. A fact that goes to his honor and has given him at least a shred of humanity that instead, at last towards me, is my mother never owned. Returning to my summer stays, my father almost always preferred the sea, and he wanted to take his family with him even for hours and hours of train travel to reach some fairly clean beach in Calabria or Lower Campania. As a child I loved the beach and the energy of the waves crashing on the shore, on my beached body anxious to be submerged by that brief fury. By the time I was 12, however, I soon began to be tired of those crowded, narrow strips of land, to feel sick of the undressed people, of the shapeless and hairy body of my dad, and our family splitting off because my mother didn't want to accompany us. Before, I love spending whole half hours underwater with a mask, pretending to get lost in unexplored, silent lunar landscapes. I dreamed that the time would no longer come to re-emerge, to face the hum of the terrestrial world, alive, dirty, and brackish. Perhaps it was precisely the disappointment of finding it under my feet every time to make me abandon the mirage of my desolate beaches and of the universal marine uterus, just as in due time I would have said goodbye to the swimming pool. I prayed to my parents until I was exhausted that they would allow me to take part in a 5-day trip to Venice, already organized during the Easter period of the seventh grade school. At first, my father didn't want to know about it, not so much because he thought I wasn't suitable for a first experience away from home, but because of the huge participation fee. To date, I believe that even if I had to leave for America free of charge, he would have been happy to accompany me to the airport without even worrying about the return ticket. My mother had the same behavior. I don't think you will have fun because you are too unable to be with others. But if your father is willing to pay, in the end, I got stuck and won it. I don't know why I was so anxious to follow my friends on that adventure, at least for me, on the edge of the impossible. Not that I particularly liked Padua and Venice, I was anxious to have new experiences, to know life outside my family. In short, I was still pursuing the illusion of being happy. Obviously, it was a great defeat. I wasted money. The money I brought with me turned out to be insufficient. I got stuck when it came to participating in group activities and local evenings of the entire school group. In Venice in the second grade, as well as in Rimini and Ravenna in the third, the long trip was just another proof of my inability to be in a group. I had achieved my goal to escape to escape from the south, from my family, from my grandparents, but only to find the inner misery of that years of spiritual and emotional degradation had caused me. I found the same result in the gymnasium. On that occasion, however, the character of the nerd in love with books had become my first social identity. By now, I no longer even worried about the form and about some lukewarm attempt to amalgamate with the group. I filled my travel bag with novels. I enjoyed the reproaches of the teacher who found me reading even during visits to the monuments. I became a living legendary among the pupils of the other sections. Our Giacomo Leopardi, they called me. I was happy because at least with them I wasn't as invisible as at home. Upon returning to Naples, the teacher shook his head and told my father that he should keep me away from books for a while, otherwise I would have ruined my social life and health. In response, my father beat me and told me that I had made him waste a few hundred euros in today's currency. If you really have to read, do it in the toilet of our house, you shit, he said. So the poor professor, who really perhaps would have believed that my father's anger was due to concern for my future. Well, more and more abandoned to myself, misunderstood by my school guides, who only gave me some soap so that my effort go, wouldn't go to waste. In the end, I also abandoned any illusion of happiness coming from trips outside Italy. From the age of 16, I even stopped notifying my parents about human destination. I would spend the days of the field trip in an empty classroom, just reviewing the lessons for the return of my classmates, fantasizing that at least some teachers would appreciate my dedication to indefatigable, sacrificed, useless study. Well, it's enough for today. See you in the next video.